Enduring charm. The Clampetts' heart humor and 1960s sitcom legacy. I have spent a lifetime returning to the Clampett family, and every return feels less like revisiting an old television show than like stepping back into a room where the people still know my name. The composite of Season 5 stories we have been living with: Granny's free dance lessons, Jed's quiet insistence on honest work, the boardroom adventure, the pipeline, misunderstanding, the dual courtship, Jethro's paper route, and the long, tender encounter with Gloria Swanson contains almost everything that has kept the Beverly Hillbillies alive in the affection of its audience for more than half a century. When I look back across these episodes now, what rises first is not the individual jokes or the elaborate misunderstandings. What rises is the steady, unmistakable heartbeat of the family itself. That heartbeat is what I have loved longest. It is present when Granny throws herself into ballroom steps with the absolute conviction that romance might still be possible. It is present when Jed accepts a job emptying garbage cans because a man needs to feel useful. It is present when the family carries jars of what they believe is their own oil to a friend in trouble and asks for nothing in return. It is present when Granny races between two suitors with her hair half up and half down, determined to make hay while the sun shines. It is present when Jethro reinvents newspaper delivery with roofing tiles and complete sincerity. And it is present most movingly of all when the entire family stands in Gloria Swanson's emptying mansion and offers her the only gift they know how to give: the unbroken memory of her work as it lived in a small theater in Nistavillabaan. Book tussle. I have never been able to separate the humor of the series from its heart. The two are not in competition. They are the same thing seen from slightly different angles. The comedy of the dance lessons is funny precisely because Granny's hope is real. The comedy of the sanitation job is funny precisely because Jed's desire to earn his keep is serious. The comedy of the boardroom is funny precisely because the director's sudden respect for $62 million collides with a man who still wants to fix the loose carpet. The laughter does not undercut the feeling. It makes the feeling visible. Buddy Ebsen's Jed remains for me one of the great quiet centers of American television. He almost never raises his voice. He almost never explains himself. He simply stands in the middle of whatever chaos the world or his family has produced and responds according to a code that never requires updating. Watching him accept the directorship of OK Oil with the same calm he brought to the garbage truck is to watch a man who cannot be altered by titles. Watching him offer Swanson the assurance that the golden era is not over is to watch a man who still believes that useful work should be available to those who can do it. Ebsen made that steadiness look effortless. It was not. It was a sustained act of moral imagination, and it is one of the reasons the character has never dated. Irene Ryan's Granny is the counterforce that keeps the series from ever becoming too serene. She is appetite and energy and fierce loyalty wrapped in a small frame that somehow contains multitudes. Whether she is mastering the cha-cha juggling bankers or declaring that she and Gloria Swanson look alike, she brings a voltage that no one else on the show can match. I have always felt that the series needed her particular fire. Without it, Jed's calm might have settled into something too still. With her, the family remains alive in every direction at once. Max Baer Jr.'s Jethro and Donna Douglas's Ellie Mae complete the circle. Jethro's enthusiasm is a comic engine that never runs out of fuel. Ellie Mae's open-hearted simplicity gives the show its clearest window onto innocence without ignorance. Together with Jed and Granny, they form a unit that feels less like a sitcom family than like a small self-contained nation with its own customs, its own language, and its own unbreakable constitution of mutual regard. The enduring charm of these particular episodes lies in how completely they trust that constitution. The dance lessons could have been a simple con artist story. Instead, they become a story about kindness offered to people who have failed. The sanitation engineer arc could have been a joke about a rich man playing at poverty. Instead, it becomes a quiet argument for the dignity of useful work. The boardroom sequence could have been pure fish out of water farce. Instead, it becomes a demonstration that character still outweighs credentials. The pipeline misunderstanding could have ended in embarrassment. Instead, it preserves the purity of a gift given in error. The dual courtship could have mocked an older woman's desire. Instead, it grants that desire full comic and emotional legitimacy. The paper route could have been nothing more than a slapstick interlude. Instead, it celebrates a young man's determination to do a job in his own way. And the Gloria Swanson story could have corrected the family's mistakes and sent them home wiser. Instead, it allows their loyalty to stand uncorrected, and in doing so makes that loyalty shine more brightly. I have often wondered why this series, so firmly rooted in the middle 1960s, continues to feel warm rather than dated. Part of the answer lies in the particular quality of its satire. The show laughs at the pretensions of Beverly Hills, but it never laughs at the desire to belong or to be useful or to be loved. It laughs at the machinery of status, but it never laughs at the human needs that machinery pretends to serve. That distinction has protected it from the bitterness that has aged so many other comedies of its era. Another part of the answer lies in the show's stubborn belief that decency is not a complicated achievement. The Clampetts do not struggle to be good. They simply are. Their goodness is not a plot point or a lesson. It is the ground they walk on. In a culture that has grown increasingly suspicious of uncomplicated virtue, that ground can feel almost radical. The series never preaches. It simply places four people in the path of the modern world and lets us watch what happens when the modern world is forced to make room for them. The legacy of the Beverly Hillbillies is often discussed in terms of ratings and cultural impact, and those discussions are not wrong. The show was a phenomenon. It changed the business of television. It carried the rural comedy wave of the 1960s farther than anyone expected. Yet when I think of its legacy now, I do not think first of numbers or of influence. I think of the particular feeling that settles over me when the opening banjo notes begin. It is the feeling of being welcomed into a world where people still mean what they say, where work still carries dignity, where loyalty does not require calculation, and where laughter and tenderness are allowed to occupy the same space, without apology. These season 5 stories taken together form a kind of accidental portrait of that world at its most complete. We see the family at play, at work, in love, in error, and in generosity. We see them misunderstood by the people around them and completely clear to one another. We see them offer the best of themselves to strangers who do not always deserve it, and to legends who do not entirely need it. And through it all we see the same steady light, the belief that a life lived with open hands is still the only life worth living. I do not know how many more times I will return to these episodes. I only know that I will return. Each time the telephone will ring with the offer of free dance lessons. Each time Jed will look for work that lets him feel useful. Each time the family will carry their jars of oil to a friend. Each time Granny will adjust her hair for one more suitor. Each time Jethro will find a better way to throw a newspaper. And each time the Clampetts will stand in a famous woman's emptying house and tell her with complete sincerity that she is still a queen in bugtussle. That is the charm that has endured. It is not sophisticated, it is not fashionable. It is simply true to itself, and in a medium that so often chases the next new thing, that kind of truth has turned out to be rare enough to feel like a gift. I remain grateful for it. I expect I always will.